Hi, friend. You're in the right place. This is the Beauty in Burnt Toast. Life gets a little messy, faith gets real, and hope shows up when we least expect it. Guests pull up a chair to share their stories, the good, the hard, and the how did that even happen moments. So grab your coffee, maybe some actual burnt toast, and settle in. This is the Beauty in Burnt Toast. Welcome back to the Beauty in Burnt Toast Season 2. Today's episode is Redeemed Rags from Recovery to Revival. Some stories are pretty and polished. This isn't one of them. This is a story of hitting the floor, meeting Jesus there, and getting back up with purpose stitched into every fiber of your being. We need more of these stories, not the ones we tidy up for Sunday mornings, but the ones we're tempted to hide because they might feel a little bit messy. God didn't bring us through the fire so we could stay quiet. Your story is not meant to be a secret. It's meant to be a lifeline for somebody else. Today's guest is doing exactly that. She isn't hiding where she came from. She's wearing grace, stitching truth, and sending courage through every piece of redeemed rags. So if you've ever wondered if your story matters, lean in. Someone else's healing might depend on your willingness to speak. So today joining me is Bridgette Henderson. Bridgette, tell me a little bit about Redeemed Rags and how that got started.
Okay, so Redeemed Rags is my business, but mostly my ministry. It is very unplanned, and I like to say we're on a wing and a prayer over here. I never saw myself as really an entrepreneur or business person, and it honestly started by accident. So Mom and Dad taught me how to sew, and I made probably 3 or 4 in the beginning, but every time I would wear them somewhere, to a restaurant, to church, anywhere really, people were constantly stopping me and asking where I got it. And everybody was like, you need to make them and sell them and share, And so I was like, well, I'll just do a booth at our church for Red, White, and Bulls and, get this out of my system.
Yeah.
It went incredibly well, and then I started getting orders, and, some days I'm like, I'll never keep up. A lot of people ask, when are you going to have a website? I am working on it, but at this point, I just have got to keep up with the orders.
One step at a time. Yeah.
And each one is one of a kind. Literally, there's not going to be another one like them. So it's very difficult sometimes to post things like that on a website.
What does your shirt say today?
It says, forgiven, chosen, saved, blessed, redeemed, and loved, with a giant cross.
So you can see she takes the t-shirts and redoes. You want to hold your sleeve out?
Yes.
Redoes the sleeves.
Yeah, and these are, they call it cantha quilts. They're kind of repurposed themselves and hand-stitched. So, that was hard for me in the beginning because none of them were exactly the same or perfect, which is right along with my personality
Exactly.
and my theme. And
Well, can you describe you before Redeemed Rags?
Absolutely.
Like what would we have seen visually?
Absolutely. I tried to look very, put together and very dressed for whatever occasion. That's actually been a very therapeutic moment for me in the last year, was cleaning out my closet and realizing just in my closet that most of my life I've been a chameleon, and you could go through certain sections of my closet and be like, oh yeah, this was when I was around these people or this situation or this time frame, and but none of it was me. And I wanted on the outside, like most people do now because of social media, I wanted everything to appear perfect.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be the perfect mom and the perfect wife and all the things. And but I was just miserable on the inside. And I was trying to, make people proud, be worthy, all of those things. And for years, and I literally had this beautiful, perfect planner that was like a joke. If our house caught on fire, y'all better grab the planner because it's like mom's brain, just to make sure like we were at everything and, doing what we were supposed to do and dressed up for the right days and had the right, everything.
Yeah.
But ultimately it was killing me because perfection is not obtainable.
Yeah.
It's just not. And most of the time, even if someone does semi-obtain it, they're not truly themselves and happy. I've discovered through people reaching out to me.
Well,
in
and
the
why
past year.
do you want to be like everyone else when you can be unique
Absolutely.
and stand out from the crowd?
And I think people, they think that there is this certain like perfection or picture of what we should be. And so they think if they get there, everyone will like them and, they will be, they will please people and, all the things that we just have in our head. And we end up hating ourselves instead of realizing that, like, we're not all supposed to be the same. God created you the way He created you. And a lot of the things that we think are imperfect about ourselves are actually things He created you that way so He could use you. And once you just get to that place that you realize, like, oh, that's why I'm that way.
Yeah. Well, as Christians, we're called to be different, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're supposed to stand out. And that's that's a hard step to take. But once you do, you realize, like, the peace and the joy and just the, I don't know, maybe just like the surrender
Yeah.
to Him of like, this is how you made me and I'm going to let you use it instead of trying to change it and be something you're not. It's very hard.
It's that control freak.
Us, women, like it's just very, very hard and we want to be in control of everything. And
well, it is so peaceful in the surrender. Like it's kind of hard to describe, but it's like the anxiety kind of disappears when you're stepping into your calling.
Absolutely, because you just, you get to that point where you're all in and He's in control. You know that there are things that you can't do. And He wants that. He wants the glory for it. That's why He brings you to a lot of these places. So you have to depend on Him. And then you think like, oh, this is just going to be terrible, and just such peace comes over it because this was the plan all along. And I just have to trust Him.
Well, so tell everyone a little bit about how you got to this colorful stage in life.
I guess at first I thought it was like maybe a midlife crisis or something, but so again, like I went through my closet, kind of was like, what, when am I the happiest when I'm getting ready? And honestly, and not in a bad way, but I was never like a fashion person when I was younger. I mean, I have older sisters that wore a lot of hand-me-downs, which kind of is ironic because now I love like vintage and thrifting and all those things. And, just what I wore in fashion was not a big deal. I don't spend a lot of money on clothes still to this point. I think a lot of people assume or think that I do because I'm always like dressed different, but I'm very thrifty and economical, with what I do. And but I just enjoy it. It's just such a passion for me. But it started coming out in only God kind of ways, through helping people in rehab that literally had nothing. And others would donate clothes and, just being like, let's pull from this and pull from that. And, this will work for you. And just helping them find their style into me finding my style in the middle of that. And again, like I'm comfy. Sometimes I'm like, I feel like I'm in my moo in these shirts, so I'm comfortable, but I don't feel like I'm frumpy in like a t-shirt.
Cute comfy, yeah.
And then I feel like I have something on that's got purpose because a lot of times, we don't want to just be like, for me, I don't want to be just walking around handing out tracts and making people feel uncomfortable. But a lot of times, if you have on something that just catches someone's attention, and I've had people recently because, I wear my cross earrings and a lot of jewelry. I love jewelry and my shirts. And,
You've got the biggest cross right there.
I love that ring. And people will be like, one lady told me a few weeks ago, and she really didn't mean it ugly. It just, like, it stuck with me because she was like, you look so cute in it. I don't know that I could pull it off. And then she said, but it's just a lot. And, just like stuff.
Did you say, well, I am a lot.
Well, and I'm not normally one of those people that like, I pop something back, normally it's like hours later, I think, man, I should have said, that
Yeah.
kind.
Yeah.
But I just instantly was like, it is a lot. And I was like, you know what? But God's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And Him dying on, Jesus dying on the cross for us was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm passionate about that. And that's okay. I'm a lot, honestly. And then I said, and you know what? I was like, and I don't have a problem with it. I don't mean it that way. But like, if someone's walking around with, say, like their favorite team, like if they're Alabama or Auburn fan and they have on an Alabama shirt and their hat and there are things on their car, like nobody ever says to them, that's a lot. Like that's just normal, and like, why are we not that passionate about the Lord?
Yeah.
Like that's just how I am. I want people to like understand my excitement because He has transformed me so much, and that when I was coming up with the name for my business, it was very spur of the moment because I had a booth and I was like, gosh, this is hard. Like you don't realize
Coming up with names is very hard. Yes.
And I just, I knew redeemed was like a huge meaningful word to me. And I just that word just wouldn't go away. And I went through like, and we do rodeos and all that.
Yeah.
So I kept going to like redeemed roundup and like, and things just never clicked. But I wanted it to have meaning, like everything else. I didn't want to just come up with a silly name that, and it still may seem silly to some people, but it has meaning to me. One of my friends, she's real cutesy and dresses like I find stuff for her all the time, and she's always like, "We're gypsies for Jesus," like, and I was like, "That's cute," but then it just didn't have like that meaning to me that the word redeemed has.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like the beauty in burnt toast. Like, I'm like, I want something to draw people in to where they don't necessarily feel like that's too religious for me. Like, it's a place I can go in and feel comfortable and realize these people are real.
Yes.
Because, it's kind of funny. Like, it's a silly name, but, I mean, that's kind of the point, so.
And that's my personality is I have a sense of humor, and I always don't sit by me when you have to be serious because that's when my laugh and when I'm going to be the silliest or say something. But I also think that's like you said, it draws people in because people do not want perfection.
No.
They do not want perfection.
No, not anymore.
That's such.
I think people are tired of it.
Yeah. That is such a in every. I could tell you a dozen things lately, that's just such a huge part of my ministry and why I think, and I'm not just doing one thing. The shirts are a huge part.
Yeah.
And people that don't have a history or testimony in any kind of addiction, the shirts still mean a lot to them. It is important to them, and they feel like they get to sometimes help with pick, to design their own shirt. But then there's also people who are like, I trust you.
Yeah.
This is my favorite Bible verse. Oh, I love that shirt. My grandmother used to sing that song. But I want you to put your touch on it. And so that's a huge part, obviously, of what I do. But it's my whole heart is in the ministry and in, just a place for people that are broken and don't have the support that I had.
Yeah. Because
that is, other than God, that's literally the next biggest piece, to my recovery. So,
well, tell me a little bit about your backstory, up to this point. Yeah.
So, I'm a mom of 4 and a wife, and we live on a cattle farm. And like I said, I just kind of, wanted to be the perfect mom, the perfect wife for years. And it just really was weighing on me. And honestly, so I'm a recovering alcoholic. I never really, very few times drank, growing up. At 21 was nothing different to me, as an older adult, we would go out with friends. I couldn't even tell you what I wanted to order to drink when everyone ordered a drink. And, over time it was just turned into the normal, mom, 1 glass of wine at night. Everybody seemed to like me better because I wasn't chasing that perfection, and it was and then most things, it just builds and builds.
Yeah.
And it was probably, honestly, it was a problem before I was even ready to accept it and admit it. And then it really just, hit me out of the blue and really, really hard.
So were you the first person to realize it was a problem, or did somebody else say something to you?
I realized it was. I just thought I can fix this myself, and I tried.
Isn't that
multiple-
such a mom thing,
Yes,
though? Like, as a
yes.
woman, you try to fix everything.
And in my mind, I thought, I don't want to be like a burden to anybody
Yeah.
else to fix this, when really my actions were more of a burden to everyone, and it happened so quickly. I think is the scariest part, because usually I think we think it happens over time, or like you're raised in that environment, and it's over years and years, and it just hit me so fast and so hard. And I had no knowledge or really background other than, and I think, I know so much of this story is God just opening my eyes and revealing things to me. The very little bit that I had ever dealt with it was, our youngest is adopted, and we were helping his mother in an addiction issue for a long time, and I really did have a lot of empathy for her and tried to help her. But looking back, nothing like I do now.
Yeah.
I have more compassion and empathy probably for her now than I did even in that time that I was trying to show it to her.
Because you've walked in those shoes now. Yeah.
And I've met people on the other side, and I think that again is why people will talk to me and open up, because I've been on both sides. Like I've, before all this happened, was helping her, and I've been on the adoption / DHR side of, having him originally, just temporarily, to adopting him. And then now I've been on the side of being in an addiction. And I had a moment last year, and this is just one of those vivid memories that you have, and I thought I could do it on my own, right? And me and my husband went to church, and I was honestly, this was a hard story for me to originally tell, but I was in church going through withdrawals. I was sweating, I was shaking, I was trying to hide it, because I thought to myself, I can do it on my own.
Yeah.
And I finally, looked at my husband, and I was like, we have to go outside. And he was like, what is wrong? And, I was like, we have to go outside right now. I have to talk to you. And at the time, I felt guilty for being in church.
Yeah.
Now I can see, that's the best place possible I could have been, and that's where broken people are supposed to be. And so many people have the wrong misconception that church is for perfect people.
Yeah.
On both sides.
That's so good.
People that don't want to walk in because they feel like they need to get it together before they go, and that's completely wrong.
You have to be dressed up perfectly,
Yes.
and
And then you have the people in church who think they're perfect, and so they, don't want the broken people there, and that's not what church is. That's not what God is about. I mean, just look at his disciples, and it's for sure, the women in the Bible and in history that he used, there's not a lot of details on women in the Bible, and the ones that are, let's be honest, they were a hot mess.
It's the worst of the worst, yeah.
And that's what he used, and I learned that more every day. I knew I was raised in church, and I knew about God. I didn't know God until the last couple of years, and so now I'm really reading the Bible and not those vacation Bible school stories, and I'm like, whoo, this is scandalous.
It's very much so.
So it's just, he's there for the broken, and that's such a misconception that I'm so passionate about, is the judgment and why people won't come to church and come to learn about God and what church is really supposed to be, I guess. And so we walked out that day. My husband knew a good bit. We're very close. He's my best friend, but even from him, I had hid a lot, and I just broke down, and I told him everything, and I said I could not pray. I didn't have the words, and I said, I want you to pray for me, for him to take this from me.
Okay.
Now he said to me, are you sure you want me to pray this? Because this is like a big prayer, and I hate to tell you, like, God's probably not going to give it to you the way, like, he's not going to deliver you from it in 5 minutes. You're going to be fine. Like, you're asking a dangerous prayer.
Yeah.
And I was so at rock bottom. I was desperate, and I was like, it was the closest thing to hell I can imagine. And that's just addiction itself. And so he prayed a very strong prayer in the parking lot of the church. And then we went back, got our kids. We left church. We went to lunch. I was so sick. I've never experienced anything like it. And I ended up calling my mom because she knew some things that were going on as well.
Yeah.
And I was ready to just be honest with everybody. And so she came to the house, and I was talking to her with him about everything. And I was still like, I'm not going to rehab. I'm not leaving my kids. Like, they're like, we're not going to make you. And I had a massive seizure from the withdrawals. I almost bit my tongue off. Like, it was very scary.
Yeah. Ended
up in the hospital. And so it wasn't long after that I finally just decided, like, I need to go to rehab. And it wasn't really, like, planned, but I convinced myself, because it was almost Christmas time, that although I would miss Christmas with my family, and you can still tell that my mind was in the wrong place, because I was like, at least no one will really miss me but family. There's no ball games, there's no this, there's no that for this, like, couple of weeks, and I can maybe just go and then slip back into normal life, and we never have to tell anyone. And I didn't
God
want
says,
anybody
"Ha
to know," and then here I am,
Yeah.
And so I went, and it literally, he transformed me in that month in the most godly ways. He has a sense of humor. Boy, does he have a sense of humor. I went, and you have to go to detox for a couple of days, and there's that whole roommate situation. I was scared for my life, which is comical now, because I stay in touch with her, and I check on her regularly, and I'm like in a panic, like, this is not the life I know. And I'm calling my husband, like, come and get me, this is terrible. And I didn't know they gave him a whole thing saying, she's going to call and say these things, and this, don't let her convince you, And then they moved me to a cottage, and I asked actually to stay with that roommate, because we had gotten close in a couple of days, because you're literally at rock bottom. And but they said no, and they put me with another roommate who, crazy enough, like, I took up with, and I stay in touch with, and I've actually seen her this week, not in good circumstances, but I'm still, helping and encouraging her. I met some, if you just knew me before, I made friends that I would have never given the time of day, sadly. And they are people that are so dear to me now, and we're from all different backgrounds, walks of life, economic status, race, everything. And it doesn't matter in that time, because you are all at rock bottom. And I think it was so eye-opening to me. But I was so at peace, and I was trying to figure out why I was so at peace. And it was because, but for the first time, I was just me. There was no expectations. These people didn't know me. I didn't know they would ever talk to me or see me again. And I could just be me. And there was no, like, at this point, there's no expectations of perfection, if that makes sense. And so I was just me.
Kind of all stripped away.
Yes.
Yeah.
But also while I was there, I met people that, and there's some stories that are not my stories to tell, but just like that, in different situations in my life, I had been struggling with certain people, and God just seemed to put people in my path and as friends there that were experiencing those same things. And it, we were able to, like, share and open doors and pray for each other, and they've become, like, there's several of them. Like, if I don't hear from them in 2 weeks, like, you better be answering me, or I'm checking, like, sadly, obituaries and jail records. Like, I'm worried about you. I care about them. And and then too, I realized just how fortunate and blessed I was. And that's what I was saying earlier. Of the 25 ladies that I was with, I was literally the only one that was still with my husband. Most were either divorced, permanently separated, had lost their children, or all three. There was
So
no
sad.
one else that
Yeah.
was still, a lot of them had no one to call during their 10-minute phone time. And I'm over here trying to cram in, my husband, 4 kids, my parents, like everybody in 10 minutes.
Well, and I assume too, were a lot of the people that you encountered people that had been in rehab before?
A lot.
Yeah.
It was shocking to me how many people were back. And I actually told her yesterday, I was on the phone with one of my friends from rehab. We were talking about kind of pivotal moments. And I'm like, you probably don't even remember saying this to me. Because she had actually been a couple of times and was clean for several years and worked in recovery and then fell back into addiction. And she said to me one night, she was like, and I think it's like 2%. I don't know the exact percentage, but she was like, like percentage wise, I believe it was like only 2% really like make it. And that means in this house right now, one person. And I remember thinking,
That's crazy.
I am going to be that one person. And it kind of almost in the beginning was a competition with myself. Like, I'm going to be that percentage. I'm not, and I once I made it past Christmas Day, I knew I wouldn't quit.
Yeah.
Because I thought that was a huge deal to miss Christmas with my kids. And so I knew if I made it past that there's no way I would quit or go home early, because then that would be for nothing. That sacrifice would have been for nothing. And I realized, ladies, a lot of ladies leave not only the addiction, but they leave abusive places. And when they leave literally with the clothes on their back. So they come and they have nothing. And there are like some donations and some clothes that were there at the time, but it was so eye-opening to me, like how many, we think in third world countries, we don't realize in our back door that people don't have Bibles, that they don't have shoes, that they don't have clothes. And so me having the amazing support system I have, I get on the phone and I call my mom, and my mom calls all my family, and she calls her ladies at church, and I couldn't see her, but she could drop things off at security, and they had to go through things with a fine-tooth comb to make sure you're not smuggling anything in, obviously. And they sent, the people that were there were like, what are you getting every day? And I'm like, y'all just don't understand, like that's just how we do. And there was a loft area in the cottage, and we just basically like set up like a small little kind of store, and they could get whatever they needed. And it was some of the most basic things that were just just panties and bras and very basic essentials was such a big deal. And I was mind blown that like a big deal was Fixodent, because I didn't realize I didn't have the drug background, like how much it affects your teeth, your dental care. And so just all those things, I was just, the whole time I'm there, my mind is turning like, you don't realize how blessed you are. And as soon as you get out of here, like I am collecting Bibles, and I'm, my mom would send like reading glasses. There were so many people that just needed like reading glasses. But I started going to church while I was there, and the first couple of times I went by myself. And by the time I left, and I don't say that in a prideful way, but because I would go with them, they would go. Yeah. And, just little things like a lady leaned over and was like, how do you know where to find that book in the Bible? And it's just something being raised in church was just natural to me. And so I knew when I left there why. I was mad when I got there. I was mad at God. I thought he was mad at me. And when I left, I knew exactly why I had walked that walk and why he wouldn't just take it away, because he's like, you've been asking what you're supposed to do in life. And sorry I had to do it this way, but here you go.
I'm about to show you.
Yeah. And I tell people a lot recently, you better be humble, or he will humble you real fast. He will knock you off that high horse. He's gonna get to you, so you just better be like listening or open to it, because somehow, some way, and it's just.
So what happened after rehab?
Honestly, I was very afraid of going home, and I think me and you may have talked about this before, but one day in a conversation with my husband on the phone, he didn't mean it ugly, but he said, I said, I'm ready, I can't wait to come home, or I miss you, or something like that. And he said, are you sure? And I was like, of course I'm sure. And he was like, well, you seem to be thriving there. And it really took me back. It upset me for a couple of days, and then it really sunk in. And I was like, why am I thriving here, you know? And it was because I was finding my purpose, and I wasn't pretending to be anything I wasn't either. All of those things were falling into place in the most unexpected place ever.
Yeah.
And so I was very nervous to go home. I prayed really, really hard about it. Not because I didn't want to go home so bad, but I knew like the no phone and the peace and quiet and just where I was mentally, and that wasn't how they were expecting.
Stepping into a different planet after that. Yeah.
And so I prayed really hard, and it got time to go home. And ironically, I went home, and there was a snowstorm that night, so we really couldn't like go anywhere, and people couldn't, you know, come over. I didn't even turn my phone on for a couple of days, which I thought would be huge to be away from my phone, and ended up loving it. And the next day, I woke up with a fever, and I was very sick. And you know, no one wants that, but again, I look back on it with different perspective, and the Lord knew that I needed like that transition home. And so I was kind of like quarantined to my bedroom for a day or two, you know, and I got to just, the kids got used to me being back, but I really wasn't up, like being a busybody taking care of things.
Gave you like a buffer period. Yeah.
And it was so weird how he just did it. But once I got back, I was home about a week, and I decided to go. We have a group at our church called Broken Chains. It's an addiction group. And it's not just alcohol and drugs. It's hurts, hang-ups, and habits. I mean, there's from all different kinds of, you know, issues. But I'd been going to AA, and I think AA is wonderful for a lot of people. And it is spiritual, but it's not... I couldn't really openly talk about my faith like I wanted to. And so I started going to, or I'd already been going before rehab, but I wasn't doing the program. And so I started going to Broken Chains, and I literally was still in my mind like, I don't want anyone to know. And when I walked in, you know, a couple of people were like, oh my gosh, we haven't seen you. Like they had noticed I was gone. And it was like the Holy Spirit just came over me, and I told them where I had been. And, you know, me and Jason had discussed it in advance because I didn't want to tell or say anything, not just because it didn't affect me, but how it would affect
your
my
family
and my kids. But they didn't care. And so, you know, I just kind of told them, and it was an unbelievable support and encouragement and being proud of me for doing it. And once I received that, like it just literally... it snowballed. And then once I was comfortable enough to be myself and not a chameleon in my real life, I quickly realized that like you get real, authentic friends and people in your life when you are that way, because people want real. They can sense real. They can sense authentic. They don't want you to be fake for them. People usually know. And it was just like, again, I don't say it in a prideful way, but it was like people would be drawn to me when I was being real and authentic. And I would pray every morning, like I say quite often, like I live in my own little world. They like me here, you know. I like to be home, and but I would pray, like, Lord, get me out of my bubble. Take the blinders off when I'm out running my errands, you know. And he would just constantly like put people in my pace. Still does. Gosh, every day I'm just.
I feel like that's a dangerous prayer too. Get me out of my bubble.
Oh, I would buy stuff off Facebook Marketplace, and I used to like when I first started doing that for the booth because it's a lot of vintage and reworked, and I like to use things for a different purpose than what they're created. And you know, I would go meet somebody, and I would literally pray like, Lord, just protect me, don't let anybody kill me, you know. And then I got to where I would pray like, you know, put people in my path. And then I got to where I said, I'm going to quit praying this because he's putting people in my path.
Lots of people.
This is crazy. And, you know, the most recent really like moment, I mean, there's been a lot. There's been a lot of little moments. I really should write them down before I forget. But the most recent was a lady, and she told me before she met me that she had had a death in the family, and I was like, I'm buying a Christmas tree, in September. I don't really need to meet you. Just, I want it. You get with me when it's a good time. And so we met up, and it ended up, she just broke down with me, and she told me that it was her. I had not told her any of my story, and she told me it was her daughter had just passed away, and she died from cirrhosis, and she was an alcoholic. And of course, I immediately just like got chills, and I was like, really, Lord, you're doing this?
Yeah.
And she started, crying and breaking down in the Burger King parking lot, and she was apologizing, and she's like, I've been trying to hold it together for my family. And she said, I just felt like for some reason, like you had this spirit that I could fall apart with you. And I know, we're just sitting there crying. And finally, I just barely started telling her, my testimony and why God had put us together that day. And she told me her daughter had quit drinking back about 9 months ago, and she said her sober date was December the 16th. And I literally just started just squalling because that's my sober date. And I said, like, that's not a coincidence. And so, of course, we stayed a while. I'm always late. Things like that happen. And I got ready to leave, and she said, okay, I'm headed to the Christian bookstore. She said she always wore one of these, like, Jesus Loves You bracelets that you scan with your phone, and it gives you a Bible verse. And somehow in the hospital it got lost. And I was like, hold on a minute. And I had my booth like the weekend before, and so I had jewelry in my car in a little box, and I had a bracelet. And I've had multiple people like that I've met through situations, and we've now become like Facebook friends. And, I check on them, and like those are things you just cannot. We could never create and write and make up. Like, you just know that He's doing it, and we don't have a week to talk, because I could probably tell you that many things that's happened. And I really feel like the more that He asks you to do things and you say yes, even when you don't know how you're going to do it, then the more He trusts you with.
Yeah.
It's like
things get crazy when you say yes.
I
mean, it's very obvious that it's not you at all. And I'm like, I'm not an emotional person, but I cry a lot more now. And it's just crazy, but it's just the overwhelming feeling that you can't contain.
Yes.
It's crazy.
I think I said, I called my husband one night, and I'm like literally crying and laughing at the same time. And he's like, what is wrong with you? And I'm like, because you're just so overwhelmed with His mercy and His goodness that He trusts you to do these things, but you don't feel qualified.
Yeah.
I think the night I called him laughing and crying, again, I'd been in a situation I wasn't expecting it. I was talking to someone, I was sharing with them, we're crying, and I quoted scripture to him. And I got in the car, and I was like, I don't know that scripture.
Where did that come from?
I literally, I pulled my Bible out that I keep in the car for, like, if I'm waiting on kids or something, and I was like, did I just make that up? Like, how did I know that, And so then you're like, that's the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
And so it's just, it's so new to me. It's things you hear your whole life, but when you experience it, and you just say yes, and you see Him make things happen that are impossible, you want everyone to know it. You just want everyone to know it.
Can't contain it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I used to be like reel myself in, because I am a lot, and I am extra, and I would hide that, and I would, just kind of push that down so I didn't make people uncomfortable, I guess. And I've just decided, like, He can use that a lot more than me. Like,
I think we crossed that line a long time ago of being able to keep things to ourselves. Like, we're just not in a world where we can contain it.
and it usually, like, even if you don't contain, even if you contain it, someone else doesn't.
Yeah.
And I know I don't sound like it now. I've never really, until the last few years, been much of a talker. I mean, obviously, I feel like I sound like cornbread anyway, so I didn't want to talk. But, I never had any intentions of, like, any of this for sure social media stuff. Yeah, and he just has a sense of humor, and he's just laughing, and he's like, I will give you the words.
Yeah.
I'll give you what to say. Just say yes.
Yeah. So I want to go kind of
Yes.
down a different road. So
Okay.
we've talked about rehab and all of that. And when we had met to talk about this episode, you had talked about kind of like how you perceived the people in rehab. So watch your toes on this one. We might do a little toe stepping.
Okay.
So in the age of social media, you know, even Christians sometimes can just jump on the bad bandwagon of sharing posts in people's worst moments. And I know this is a really tough topic, but just because it's on social media does not mean that you're meant to share it.
And it's your business.
Yes, and that just goes along with gossiping too. Like, just because you know it doesn't mean you're supposed to pass it along. So talk a little bit kind of your thoughts before being raised in church, just about people with addiction, and then kind of what you came to know when you were in the midst of it.
I'm so glad that you brought this up, because it wasn't ever on my radar until you experienced it clearly. And now it is, I hate the word pet peeve, but it is very, like, it's a tough topic. It's one of the hardest parts, because well, and even with your close family, like when you change on the inside, you experience it, but it takes other people a little while to like see that in you. And so, I, before all of the withdrawals and the rehab, I'm putting it all out here, I had a DUI, and I wasn't one to share mugshots and things like that, I don't think, but you know, there was definitely times in conversation where when I was a different person, it would come up like, did you see blah, blah, blah. And so when I was arrested, obviously that was so hurtful, because, and there was people with good intentions that would text me or message me and say like, I'm praying for you. And I'm like, how do they even know? And then as naive as I was, I realized like, it's all over social media and people are sharing it and screenshotting it. And I even had people upset with me because they found out online and I didn't call and tell them.
You're like, that is what I wanted to call and announce to you.
Let me call and tell you my lowest day. But in all of that, he revealed to me a lot, and then more so at rehab. One, when you see someone in their mugshot, that was never their plan. Nobody has a life goal, I would say, to like, you know.
Yeah, I bet you never in a million years thought you would be at that point. Yeah.
Yes. And so they're literally at their lowest, probably, in that moment. And so to screenshot or share or take someone's lowest moment and use that, and we hate saying this, but it's the honest truth, using it for your entertainment and your topic of conversation is so wrong on so many levels. And I understand there are reasons that are justifiable. There are people that with their jobs and different things that they have to check, like jail records, and they have to know certain things.
Yeah.
I've dealt with that, you know, with DHR and all kinds of things. But just for the fun of it, to check them is really a passionate topic for me, because, well, this is just my sense of humor, I guess, but like, if you have time to do that, you probably need a hobby. It never crosses my mind, because I'm too busy to need to go and check who's in jail.
I mean, just like, if you feel the need to do something like that, get your Bible out instead and read it. Yeah.
And so it just, I know he gives us things like that for a reason. And of course, when I got to rehab, and then you have, it's not just a mugshot.
Yeah.
It's not just an arrest record. It's an actual person. And you hear their stories and how they ended up there and their childhood. And there's so much more to it. You have a different sympathy for it. So now, even when I do see someone online, I know that they're at their lowest point, and that there's a lot more that got them there. They did not get there.
You have no clue what their story is.
It's a very rare incident that somebody gets there from a perfect situation by, some fluke accident. If you just think when you're doing that, if you will take a step back and think, what's that thing that I don't want anybody to know? So what if on my worst day, someone is snapping a picture of me at my worst and then publicizing that, whatever that thing is, you don't want anybody to know about you, all over social media and sharing it? How would I feel if that was me? And that's how I look at it. Because we all know people that maybe we know something about them that everybody else doesn't know. So I know everybody has that. But to get entertainment.
Yeah, well, and knowing that sharing that could be their loved ones' first glimpse of it.
And the part that makes me so sad is that it's Christians a lot of times, or people, that are what you would say like church people that do these things, and it gives everybody like a bad taste or a bad rap, or like we were talking about in church, it's the one or two like judgmental people that, don't want the broken in church. And that's so sad because people will let that use them from coming to God, because that's what they perceive as Christians.
Well, like we said, Jesus did not walk among the perfect people.
Absolutely not.
He walked among the ones whose mugshots are on Facebook.
Yeah, he preferred
that was his
honestly.
people, yes.
He preferred that. And
But they have the testimonies to win people over as well, which is like a part of this podcast, is these testimonies, all of these stories, people that I'm having on are there so that you can see that you're not alone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And he can use anyone. He can, and he wants to. That's really the beauty in all of it, is that he wants the glory for it. He wants it to be something that only he could have done.
Yeah.
And you're not just like reading the Bible to people, you're actually telling them how you've experienced God. And it's just something that only he could do. And so like he wants the broken. And when people are church hurt, I'm like, that is church. That's not God.
Yeah.
That is this world, that is sinful, broken people. Don't think that is God. That's not God. That's just us as sinners and broken people that have hurt you. Don't let that keep you from God.
Yeah. So I always ask people to provide a verse that has kind of gotten them through life. What is your verse?
I guess 2 Corinthians 5:17, and it's a huge verse in our Broken Chains group, and it's just, that the new is gone. The new has come and the old is gone.
Yeah.
And when we are saved and we go through that transformation, and we just are all in, like, he makes us completely new.
Yeah.
And that's why too in our group, we don't stand up and say, "Hi, I'm Bridgette, I'm an alcoholic," because we're no longer
That's
an
not who you are anymore. Yeah.
That's not who I am. He has taken that. I'm a new person in him. And, I may say to someone, I'm a recovering alcoholic, but I'm not that person.
Yeah.
And I know that's hard for people to understand, but if you knew the old me, you probably don't really. My mannerisms and my voice, and, I'm the same. But in my heart and in my body, I've never... I can't put it into words.
You feel completely different.
I'm just totally different. And I remember my dad going through that as a child. I remember like who he was before he was saved. And then I remember him like going to a revival and coming home, and we were like, whoa, like who is this?
Yeah.
And I realized too that like everybody doesn't have some major trauma or distinct moment or some major transformation maybe that everybody can see. But still, like, trust God and let him use you, because there's other people who don't have that as well, and they're looking for somebody to encourage them and give them hope. And everybody, just even if it's wearing a shirt or whatever, just let him change you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, you necessarily like mine has been with your clothes and everything. I know that's not probably the norm, but let him change you from the inside
Yeah.
out.
Well, and if you've walked through, we've all walked through something.
Yes.
And there's always going to be someone like you that what you've walked through is going to influence them. And your story is going to mean something to them.
Absolutely.
Even if it's not some crazy story.
Absolutely.
Like you still have something to share to other people.
Like you as a person are literally like a granule of sand on a giant beach. And for whatever reason, he thought the world needed you and created you. And so like to just get up without purpose and dreading the day and going through life and not having like sharing him is so sad to me now.
Yeah.
Because I guess I'm so kingdom minded now. Like, yeah, I get frazzled and my life is crazy and chaos and Lord, I even drive you crazy. I know it. But like, it's not about this life.
Yeah.
If people could just see that it is not about all the possessions and things and working harder and just being miserable in life. It's about so much more. And just once you get that, it changes your whole life and your whole perspective, and you want everyone to experience it. And my kids, my older kids, and really I haven't mentioned this, but like with all of my kids, there's been kind of a restoration period because of how I was and what they've went through. And I've had to apologize, which is, as an adult, you need to do, even if it's not about something like this, but and restore our relationships. And then sometimes, multiple times, we will be experiencing something or going through something, and my kids will just kind of be staring at me weird. And I'll be like, what? And the first one was my daughter, and she's just like, you're so different, Mom. And it's like, yeah, my whole perception of things has changed. And then we were helping her move a few weeks ago, and she's stressed, and everybody's stressed. Moving's a stressful thing. And I'm just like, it's okay, calm down. It's not the end of the world, and my 14-year-old's like, well, since when did you become the adult that tells everybody to calm down?
Yeah.
Like, that's so not me, or the old me.
Yeah.
It's the new me. And they still have days.
So I think the point is, don't waste what you've been given.
Yeah, don't take anything that you have for granted, and don't wait till something bad or major happens to realize like you're important. You have a purpose. And my biggest thing that he's changed about me is just not judging people. We've all heard that phrase, like when people are the hardest to love, that's when they need the most love.
Yeah.
And that is so much deeper as far as like when people are broken and at their lowest. And I know there is a fine line between loving, supporting, encouraging, and enabling.
Yes.
There's a big line there, and I get that that's a whole nother thing. But just giving people hope. I'm so grateful, blessed. I feel amazing. None of this was my plan to be, doing TikToks that my son says are cringe, or anything like that. I mean, it's just funny how he'll put you where he needs you to be. And I'm passionate about my shirts, and he just every day keeps putting people in my path. And sometimes it's, oh Lord, are you sure I can handle this? Because I don't feel qualified, and I don't know how I'm here. And even in saying that, there's several health things and DUIs, and I shouldn't be. And he needed me, and I guess he thought he needed me. I needed him, but.
Well, he knew eventually you would get to the point where you were willing, and he was just leading you there.
Absolutely.
So your story is not small. If God brought you through something, don't bury it. Somebody needs it. Share it with a friend. Share it with your kids. Share it if it makes your voice shake while you're sharing it.
Absolutely.
Like Bridgette said,
Yes.
we don't love public speaking. We just say yes, and God takes it from there. So for anyone who wants to shop or support Redeemed Rags, where can they go?
Okay. So right now, the easiest way is my Facebook group,
Okay.
Redeemed Rags. It's a little neutral colored circle background with a cross, and it says Redeemed Rags. And I do post there, but
Okay.
also the big thing I post there is when I'm doing pop-up shops. So I do right now rodeos and different things. I do little pop-up shops, and I'm actually working on an Etsy shop. I just got it like officially set up, and hopefully people will be able to shop
Yeah.
that starting next week.
So
where I
coming
will-
soon.
Yes.
So I just want to encourage you to support your sisters. Mompreneurs is what I like to say. Out there busting it and doing the best they can. So if you have someone that you know that has their own business, if you can't buy, share, share, share. Like tell a friend, like whether it's this podcast, whether it's Redeemed Rags, like whatever it is, that is the best way to support your sisters, like I said. But I just want to thank you for being here today, being real, open, and honest. Like I know it's not always easy, but even if you can just reach the one,
Yeah, if it
you
reaches
know,
one
that's,
person and on social media, I mean, yes, it's for my business, but
Mm-hmm.
I have had people like, if you're a mom and you're just afraid to share, like, hey, I need
Yeah.
help. That's the sole purpose of Redeem Rags, even to begin with as a ministry. Reach out to me.
Yeah.
No one else checks those messages. It's strictly me.
yeah,
Message me. I will get you to the right
Mm-hmm.
direction in the right place. If I don't know it, which I probably don't because I'm not qualified, I will get you. Like, I have amazing resources that have been wonderful to work with, that I will get you to the right person, or even just listen and
Yeah.
pray with you if that's all you want.
Yeah. If you need help, you can reach out to either one of us, Redeemed Rags or Beauty and Burnt Toast. We will get you where you need to go. We will pray with
Don't
you.
feel alone.
Yeah. Yeah. So, our next episode, culture told her one thing about identity, God told her another. You're not ready for this. So, please follow along with us. Thank you guys so much. Have a great week.